Hello, my friends. It has been almost 2 months since I have sat down to film an empties video for all of you guys, but that ends today. I have quite a few candles to share with you guys. I don't want this intro to be too lengthy because there are a lot of candles to talk about. But as you guys know, the reason why there's been a little bit of a drought in me sharing the empties is because um, starting in I would say late July, I started to receive a lot of Halloween PR. And so I was trying to get a lot of dedicated reviews out for Halloween collections. And then I went on a very nice vacation for 11 days in the middle of August. And then when I returned, I still had more candles that I felt like I needed to get some dedicated reviews out on for all of you guys. Now, in the meantime, while I was burning a lot of the new stuff, I was trying to make sure that I was incorporating some of the old. So I would say by the end of August, the reason why I didn't film an empties video was because at that time I only had 4 empties. However, throughout the month of September, and I know we're not even finished with the month yet, I have started to accumulate more. The box is overflowing now. So I figured it is time for me to sit down and share with you guys what I have finished burning. So the other thing I wanted to say is I hope the sound is okay today on this video. I have a little lapel mic that actually I'm wearing right down here, kind of by my belly button, because this dress that I am wearing, the neck is really high and I don't like the feeling of the mic right here. So I apologize if the sound quality is not as great. But just is what it is. So let's go ahead and get into this video. As always, all of the candles that I'm talking about today, I will make sure that I have listed in the description box down below with timestamps, as well as with any affiliate discount codes that I may have for additional savings for you guys. So let's go ahead and start out with a fragrance from the Boo Crew from Cringle Halloween. This was part 2 of their Halloween launch. This is the fragrance Ghost Stories. So I've already finished burning this one. I actually just finished this maybe 2 nights ago. This fragrance has notes of spicy pink pepper, aromatic juniper, balsamic amber, woodfire clove, smoky guaiac wood, roasted chestnut, fresh orange blossom, blonde woods, and warm vanilla bean. Now, when I initially did my post burn review on this, I said that this reminded me, it was not the same, not a dupe, but it's in that family of Bath and Body Works Marshmallow Fireside. The more that I burned this fragrance, it actually reminded me quite a bit of Maison Margiela replicas by the fireplace. I think it's an eau de toilette, eau de perfume. There's a lot of dupes for it. I think Dossier's dupe for it is like woody chestnut or something like that. But this is a really nice fragrance. Now, if you caught my haul that from when I was in the Kringle store when I was in Massachusetts in August, I told you guys that I was actually there on August 15th, which was the launch day, and they had some of these in store. And so I did purchase a backup of Ghost Stories. I actually have it ready to go in my rotation. I am actually planning to burn Ghost Stories alongside. I have another Skull and Sonnet from last year, as well as the what's the other one that I was thinking? Was it Smoke and Oak? I might burn it alongside Smoke and Oak. So just kind of that it's different vibe for I would say like fall and winter evenings. But I do really like this fragrance. Strength and throw on this got a little bit better as I got further along in the burn. I would still say that it performed best in my closed concept bedrooms. I'm going to give it about a 6.5 in terms of strength and throw. I do know that the repour of these of this Boo Crew collection is in production right now. We still don't have a firm date when those will be available, but more are currently being produced. That was the last update that I received on that. But cute little candle here, Ghost Stories, that I finished burning up. Wow, that was kind of loud putting that lid back on. Let's see, a Caramel Sundays fragrance that I finished burning up. If you caught my haul video for the September restock, then you know that I actually missed out on getting a restock of this. This one sold out before I could get my hands on more. This is the fragrance Autumn Jam. Now, I do always want to make it clear, when you see a lot of my Caramel Sundays 2 wicks in the empties, oftentimes you will see a lot of soot around the rim, and it is because usually on my last burn of Caramel Sundays, I will just let them burn out. So sometimes they're burning for like 6-7 hours, which is not the recommended time. But usually by then I'm like, if I what was I say, like extinguish it and then put it back, I feel like a lot of candles are this way. Once they get to like only having so much wax left, they don't really give much fragrance output. Um, And so anyways, that's why the top of this looks a little bit sooty. But Autumn Jam had fragrance notes of top notes of apple and citrus, mid notes of cranberry and spice, base note of wood and dried clove. I really loved this fragrance. If Caramel Sundays brings this fragrance back next year in a 4-wick, I will definitely repurchase it. I would definitely repurchase it in a 2-wick, but you guys know that I love the 4-wick format even more. This was really good. Solid like 7 in terms of strength and throw from the 2-wick. These are 100% soy wax candles, but I loved this scent and was definitely a little bit bummed to miss out on it during the restock, but oh well, that is life. Let's go ahead here. I finished burning a 3-wick of Kittens and Cashmere from Cringle Candle. We have fragrance notes of ozone, green, herbal, fir needle, eucalyptus mint, herbal, and amber musk. I talked about this fragrance last week in my candle chat because I do have this in the 4-wick. I'm actually almost done burning through the 4-wick of this fragrance. This I have always said as for those of you guys who love the fragrance Sweater Weather from Bath and Body Works, it's in that same family. It's a cousin. What makes this slightly different is that there's a slightly mintier note to this fragrance, very similar to the mint note that is found in the Kringle fragrance Winter Woods. I feel like it's like if Sweater Weather and Winter Woods had a baby, this is Kittens and Cashmere is what you get. But I love this one. I have mentioned that I really like burning this fragrance, particularly in the evenings, especially if I have made a meal that has a lot of cooking odors. I feel like this is kind of like what lemon or any kind of citrus notes are in the spring and summer when they kind of like give that like palate cleansing kind of effect, a fresh effect. That's what this does for me. So I actually was burning this 3-wick in my bedroom while I was burning the 4-wick out here in the open concept. So that way I just had that fragrance going throughout my entire home. I don't know if this is available in the 3-wick anymore. I know that Kringle is getting rid of this layout or this format of 3-wick, but I would highly recommend this fragrance. Just get it in the 4-wick. The 2-wick performs quite well too, but this is a great fragrance. Sorry, you guys, I have a lot of Kringle and Caramel Sundays just right here in this one. I do have some HOMEWORX candles in this other box too, but wanted to let you guys know we're going to be a little Kringle and Caramel Sundays here heavy here first because this is just what's right in front of me. Speaking of the Boo Crew, this is the fragrance Lil Devil. I did already finish burning this one. Fragrance notes are lush pumpkin, sweet nutmeg, creamy custard, spicy clove, cozy cinnamon, rich maple syrup, caramelized sugar, earthy carrot, and warm vanilla. So this one, they did send to me in PR. They actually sent me the puppy and the kitten version. So now I have 2 kitten versions in my backup because I have the one that they sent me in PR. And then when I was in Massachusetts, I purchased another one in store, the cat one, of course, because I love cats. Nothing against dogs. I'm just more of a cat person. Okay, so I love this fragrance. This is very similar to Yankee Candle's Spiced Pumpkin to my nose. This is just a great, I mean this in the best way, kind of like a basic fall spiced pumpkin type of fragrance. It's not overly spicy to my nose. It's funny. Who was it? I think it's Amy from Beloved Fragrance Finds. We crack up because she and I have very different noses and different tastes. She smells red hot cinnamon in this fragrance, and I'm like, I don't get red hot cinnamon at all in this. I smell more clove and pumpkin, maybe some sweetness of maple in there. But this to me is just like a very cozy type of spiced pumpkin type of fragrance. So it's just funny what all of our noses pick up on. All of us have different, different noses. But I loved this fragrance. I'm going to say that this was probably my favorite scent of the like kind of like spiced pumpkin scents that Kringle came out with this year. We saw that they first did Pumpkin Head, and then they did this one, and then they did the Pumpkin Oud, which is kind of like a more elevated take. If I'm going to rank them, I'm going to say Lil Devil was my favorite, mainly because it's just so versatile. I find that it easily pairs with other fragrances. I believe it or not, I feel like Pumpkin Oud and Pumpkin Head are kind of like on the same wavelength. I'll probably give it to Pumpkin Head more because it's a stronger fragrance to me. Although, believe it or not, after I gave you guys that update last week on Pumpkin Oud, I lit it the other day, and guess what? The flames all of a sudden came to life, and it was throwing much better. So that's a good thing, but also I was like, of course, after I gave that update, you would decide to perform. Okay, let's talk about a caramel sundaes fragrance that I did repurchase this in the 4-wick when it became available. So I think I initially purchased this one in the June restock because it was only available in this format. It is the fragrance Coffin Cake. I actually don't have the fragrance notes in front of me. I just filmed my caramel sundaes haul, so I had the September wish list candles on there. But Coffin Cake, to me, you guys, this is just a perfect spice cake fragrance. It's not available anymore. It's not coming back this this season. Maybe they'll have something like this in like a Christmas lineup, but just a very good spice cake fragrance. It's more heavy on the spice cake element than it is the like the vanilla frosting. It's not really like a frosting scent to me. There's a little bit of sweetness, but it doesn't overtake the fragrance. Very similar if you had their iced carrot cake fragrance in the Easter lineup or like a springtime lineup. I like this one a little bit better because, again, that frosting note sometimes can turn a little funny to my nose. Sometimes frosting notes come across lactonic, and I don't always appreciate that. But this is really good. I do have it in a 4-wick. The 4-wick is actually currently in my burn rotation because I love it so much. Let's talk about a Kringle candle that I kind of have a different opinion about this candle than I've been seeing a lot of people, but that's all right. We all have our own opinions, right? Apple Rum Cake. Now, Kringle did send this to me in PR. This is part of their fall lineup. We have fragrance notes of apple, spiced rum, dates, fruit, pastry, cinnamon, and nutmeg. And I know a lot of people are going crazy for this scent. It's okay to me. You guys, I actually don't really love this fragrance that much. Now, I burned it all the way through. Well, almost all the way through. Actually, what you're seeing here, and I'll probably have seen the B-roll from here. The reason why this still has more time to burn on it, or like you could see that there's a little bit of wax left in it, is because the wicks detached and they started to move. And I just thought, you know what? I don't love this fragrance enough that I want to keep burning this and have to deal with babysitting the wicks moving around. So I was like, I'm just going to call it. Now, I will say strength and throw on this candle. I think that this was probably one of the strongest ones from their fall lineup. But this, to me, you know what it is for me? It is the date note in here that I know that they say it's rum, but the spiced rum in here, this is not, it smells boozy on cold. When it is burning, that dissipates a little bit, but I think for me, it's the apple mixed with this like date note that I'm not loving. Yeah, dates, fruit. It almost smells like, I don't know. I don't love it. Now, I am going to tell you guys, if you like apple rum cake, you are going to like the vintage Christmas fragrance that is part of the new holiday lineup that just released, last week. Vintage Christmas, guess what? I don't like that fragrance either. It smells like mulling spices mixed with this date note. There's something about that. I think it's the dates that I'm like, I don't like it. It's like raisins or something. I don't know. I don't love it. This would not be a repurchase for me. Strength and throw was really good on this one. Solid 8.5, almost 9. But that one will not be a repurchase. A fragrance that I did repurchase when it was available, this one was initially sent to me in PR, is Kringle Candles Pumpkinhead. This was my favorite fragrance from the Part 1 launch. From Kringle, we have fragrance notes of pumpkin, spice, orange, cinnamon, clove, and vanilla. Now, what differentiates this from the Lil Devil is that there is an orange note in here that lends a little bit more brightness to it. I also smell a slightly more creaminess to this. That's the best way that I can describe it. It's a little bit brighter. The vanilla and the clove, yeah, orange. It's the orange note in here that I detect a lot more in this than Lil Devil does not have the orange. This to me is more of like an early fall pumpkin scent, I think because of that orange note. Again, I have one more of these in my collection. I'm not sure if I'll break that out again this fall now that we are almost towards the month of October. Hard to believe. But I do have one more in my collection. I was able to get my hands on it. I know that one sold out very quickly when Part 1 launched, much to a lot of people's chagrin. But yeah, I have one more, but honestly, now that I have the Lil Devil, which I appreciate a little bit more, I definitely, like, it sounds kind of funny. I thought that like, oh, the Pumpkinhead, I'm just going to love forever and ever, but the Lil Devil, I prefer a little bit more. That even I would say if somebody like came to me and was like, hey, like I could probably gift Pumpkinhead and not feel too sad about it, which I didn't feel like I would feel that way initially, but that just goes to show you guys that sometimes we fall in love with a fragrance and then something else comes along that kind of like sweeps us off our feet. And it just goes to show how fickle we can be with fragrance, I guess. Another Kringle candle, 3-wick. I actually finished burning this the other night. I think at the same time I finished burning Ghost Stories. This is warm and toasty. We have fragrance notes of cedar, smoke, sweet, marshmallow, amber, and sugar. Now you're going to see that the wicks in this look a little bit crazy, and it's just because when I went to extinguish it with my wick dipper, the wicks had detached and they were just falling all over, and I was like, you know what, I'm not going to deal with that anymore. So this one slightly has a little bit of wax left. If I wanted to, I could probably stick it in a crock to get a little bit more, but I have a 4-wick of this available in my backup stash, so I'm okay with just parting with it now. Now, I will say this 3-wick of Warm and Toasty, I didn't find it to be, it was probably about like a 7.5 in terms of strength and throw. I didn't find it to perform as well out here in the open concept as even I found the 2-wick. The 2-wick last year performed really well. And I have a feeling that the 4-wick will, but that just kind of goes back to this 3-wick. I feel like the performance is a little inconsistent. This one, it's funny, the wicks at the halfway point, they weren't getting puny, but they had like excess white at the end of the wicks. It was kind of a strange thing that was happening. So again, I'm not going to repurchase this in the 3-wick. I don't know if it's available in the 3-wick anymore, but that was the Warm and Toasty. I do like that fragrance. It is definitely more of like a warm ambery take on like more Marshmallow Fireside, different fragrance than Marshmallow Fireside, but it's definitely more heavy on like a sweet amber note in there mixed with marshmallow with a little bit of smoke. Let's talk about a HOMEWORX candle. Finally, you guys see, now I'm getting into another box here, and this is going to be slightly treacherous, I think, in terms of getting all of these candles out. Blackberry Maple Ice Cream. This was sent to me in PR. This was part of the Orchard Treats collection from HOMEWORX. We have fragrance notes of fresh blackberry, vanilla ice cream, sweet maple syrup, and fresh cinnamon. I actually liked burning this with, what fragrance was that? It was the new Cringle Reserve, their ambered apple and walnut. I felt like this was kind of like a nice fruity complementary fragrance to it. This was a nice scent. This to me is more of like a late summer to fall transitional scent. So by the time I had it and it was time to burn, I felt like it was like late August, because I got these, I think, right before I went on my trip. And so I didn't have a ton of time to burn that. But I feel like this is a scent that I would have enjoyed more like late July, maybe like the first week of August for me as a seasonal burner. Strength and throw was actually pretty good on this. I did do post-burn reviews on all 3 of these candles that are in the Orchard Treats. For being 3 wicks, I was actually quite impressed with their performance. They did a good job on these ones. So they did burn a little hot and fast. This one, I didn't have the wick issues as badly as the Nectar one. I think that one's somewhere in here as well. We'll get to that one. But if you're eyeing that Orchard Treats collection over on QVC, if it goes on a good sale or whatnot, I would say if any of these fragrances intrigue you, I did get good performance out of them. And now I'm just throwing them off to the side here because now I'm in like the box where they're stacked and I don't have room to put them back. Okay, here is Apple Truffle from Caramel Sundays. So we had fragrance notes on Apple Truffle. Our top notes of apple and warm oats, mid notes of butterscotch cream, and a base note of cinnamon sugar. Now, if you caught my haul video that I put up, I repurchased this in the 2-wick. And here's the thing, you guys. The 2-wick smells different to me than the 4-wick. The 4-wick, I get more of that apple and oats note going on, but in the 2-wick, I get more of that butterscotch note that's listed as a mid note. I didn't really detect any butterscotch in this in the 4-wick, but in the 2-wick, I did. And obviously the wax color is also different in the 2-wick than the 4-wick. So I don't know what went on there. Maybe it was just a different concentration when they were pouring. But I did see a couple of other reviews, and they were mentioning that they really pick up on that butterscotch note, but they were reviewing 2-wicks. So I'm like, I don't know, maybe there was a difference. Regardless, you guys, I really loved this fragrance. It reminded me a lot of an apple crisp. So I will be curious to see what the 2-wick smells like when it's burning. But this was a great fragrance. I would definitely repurchase it in the 4-wick if it is this exact fragrance. It was so good. Strength and throw on this was pretty good for me. The only thing that I will say about this one And there's one other Caramel Sundays 4-wick that I'll talk about this. This one, I did get some puny wicks on. Like, I think that I trimmed the wicks too short. So I would really caution you on the Caramel Sundays 4-wicks. Don't trim the wicks. You're going to be tempted to because the wicks are going to curl down. And the only way that I would say to do that is if you notice that there's like excessive wick that's curling down, like pull it up right after you extinguish the flames and just cut that little carbon ball off, but make sure you don't trim the wicks too short, because I did find that this one, I did have to dump some wax in order to bring it back to life sometimes. I did deal with some drowning wicks on this apple truffle, but it's not enough for me that I'm not going to repurchase the 4-wicks, but I will just say be cautious. Don't trim those wicks too terribly much because you might regret it. Okay, another Caramel Sundays fragrance that I finished burning, and you saw that I purchased this in the 4-wick in my September order, is the fragrance Fall Cider. Fragrance notes are top notes of spiced cider, mid notes of tart apple, caramel, base note of warm brown sugar and clove, and I've already gone on and on about this. If you liked Bath & Body Works Cider Lane, that's what this fragrance smells like to me. Again, it's looking a little rough right now because I did let it just kind of go there on the last burn, but strength and throw on this one, on the 2-wick, I want to say it was like between like a 6 and a 7. It wasn't a total powerhouse, but I am hoping that the 4-wick will be. This is a fragrance that I've loved. You know, I love Bath & Body Works Cider Lane. Unfortunately, it's not going to be available for the rest of this year, but that was a really nice fragrance. I did finish burning a Kringle 4-wick. Now, this was actually sent to me last year in PR when they initially launched the 4-wick candles. It is the fragrance Bourbon Bonfire. Bourbon Bonfire has fragrance notes of golden aged rum, Tennessee whiskey, cinnamon sticks, crushed clove, cedarwood, sandalwood, and smoked vanilla bean. Now, this to me, I love this scent. This is kind of like a sweet and yet smoky type of fragrance, a little bit boozy. Now, the note in here, I get like a rum, more of a rum than I get bourbon in here, maybe a little bit. Rum and bourbon can come across as kind of like sweet for being boozy fragrances. But you get a little element of smokiness in here, but there's something sweet about this, not like gourmand marshmallow sweet. The sweetness is definitely a boozy sweetness. But this is a great fragrance. My family really loved this one. And like I said, I've had this in my collection for almost a year now. So I finished burning it up over the last month. Strength and throw on this Bourbon Bonfire 4-wick was very, very good. I would give this one a solid 8.5 in terms of strength and throw. Bourbon Bonfire has always kind of been a stronger candle for me. Just even in the 2-wicks, I found it to be decently strong. So I was glad to have that. I'm trying to find a place to put this down here without like throwing and shattering glass. Good thing I have carpet underneath here. Another Caramel Sundays candle that this is going to look funny because this candle actually got finished burning. It finished burning out, but the wax hadn't completely cooled when I had put it in my box in the garage. And so the wax kind of like shifted at an angle here. This is the fragrance Pecan Marshmallow. I don't have the fragrance notes for this, but this was just a good like pecan and vanilla fragrance. I really enjoyed burning this with pumpkin waffles. I felt like it complemented that fragrance really nicely. Right now I'm burning the Praline Pecan from HOMEWORX with it. But yeah, this is a nice fragrance. Kind of creamy, but you got that pecan in there. Very versatile fragrance. Strength and throw on this one was pretty good. I would say it was about like a 7.5, 8 for me. Definitely could anchor it out here in the open concept living room and then have some of my other candles burning. But again, very versatile fragrance, but it too is no longer available. Let's see here. Oh my. Okay, what do I have? You know what? I'm going to do one more Caramel Sundays and then we're going to finish out with some HOMEWORX candles. Okay, Toasted Pumpkin Crunch. This was the other candle that was that I was getting some funny business going on with the wicks. Now, I do like this fragrance. It's very spicy to my nose. Lot of cinnamon in here mixed with the pumpkin note. Almost like the spice cake cinnamon note that I get in Coffin Cake, but this has the additional element, I would say, of like a pumpkin note in here, like a pumpkin puree. Very, very nice fragrance. Now, the only problem that I had with it, again, is because the wicks, like you can see, these wicks are really short. I had to dump wax. I found that the wax would start to discolor a little bit, like how it does on any candle when you start to develop those puny wicks. So then I would dump it out and then relight it. So I don't know what happened with the wicks on this one as well as the apple truffle. Those I both picked up in the same restock, which I think was in June. And again, I haven't had that issue on most of my 4 wicks. It was just those 2. So I don't know. Would I repurchase this fragrance again? Maybe. I thought that I was going to love this one more than I did. It's a nice fragrance. I actually think that I might repurchase it again. I like this like in the mornings. I feel like this is a very cozy scent, like when you're going to have like, well, for us, what's rare here in Arizona, like a nice like rainy morning. Very nice fragrance, but I will say that to me, it's not overtly fall. I feel like this could be just a cozy scent for the fall and the winter. But yeah, really like that scent. But again, because I had some issues with the puny wicks, the strength and throw would vary on this. When the wicks were healthy and going, its strength was about an 8. But when the wicks were struggling like that, it would bring it down to like maybe like a 5 to 6 in terms of strength and throw, which is not what I typically get from the caramel sundaes 4 wicks. Okay, let's finish out with the HOMEWORX here. So I did talk about the Blackberry ice cream fragrance. This is Mahogany Pumpkin. This is also part of the Orchard Treats. Fragrance notes of heirloom pumpkin, autumn spice, patchouli, and red mahogany. And this to me, you guys, if you like Bath and Body Works, I think it's their farmhouse pumpkin and patchouli or something like that. I feel like this is like that fragrance, but done a little bit better. I actually didn't like the Bath and Body Works version. The patchouli note was a little too aggressive for me. Patchouli is one of those ones that I can be very sensitive to. I'm either going to really enjoy it or it's going to be a no for me. Oftentimes it leans into the no for me, but this one worked. This one I actually really liked. I was nervous about it on Cold Sniff. But again, this is kind of like a sophisticated take on like pumpkin spice. It is that addition of the patchouli in here. Very nice fragrance. Again, strength and throw on it was good. Yeah, red mahogany and patchouli. Yeah, it's a little bit more, dare I say, slightly masculine take on, or not even masculine, I would say slightly perfumey take on a typical pumpkin spice type of scent. Very nicely done. If you liked this fragrance, I would say that you'll like the pumpkin oud scent from Cringle. Different fragrances, but kind of in that same like sophisticated pumpkin fragrance. But I do have a dedicated review on this one. And then while we are on it, the Sweet Autumn Nectar was the last fragrance in that Orchard Treats collection. We have fragrance notes of dark pomegranate, forest fruits, sprinkle of cinnamon, and clove bud. Now this I will say was my least favorite of the Orchard Treats collection, just because to me it was too sweet. Like I don't like super, super sweet fragrances. Like I like a good like bakery gourmand, but I'm not always big on like frosting or like super, super sweet scents. And this is definitely like sweet nectar. Again, it also could have been just the time of year that I was kind of beyond all of those sweet fragrances. I was ready to move into more cozy gourmand scents that you find in the fall. So I actually did finish burning this one outside one evening, and you can see that I caught some bugs. But this one I did have some wick issues with. Initially, one of my wicks actually fell over. I had to fish it out when I relit it. It was kind of a little bit of a booger for me, but I was able to rescue it and finish burning it. But Sweet Autumn Nectar, like I said, that Orchard Treats collection was pretty good in terms of the performance, particularly because they were 3 wicks. Another candle set that I had purchased from QVC, this was when they did their Christmas in July, and I was initially sent the vanilla almond creme, not cream, creme in PR. And then when it became available in a duo for Christmas in July, I actually purchased a backup of it because I said that it kind of was a slightly more gourmand element of a fragrance that they had in the past called Almond Flower, which I've always compared to Bath and Body Works pistachio and toasted vanilla. If you like that fragrance, then you would like the vanilla almond creme. So when that came available during Christmas in July, they had an auto ship delivery option available, and I did go ahead and sign up for that. And so Chai Pumpkin Latte was the next duo that they sent in that auto delivery. Fragrance notes on Chai Pumpkin Latte are chai tea, spiced pumpkin cream, vanilla bean, and raw cane sugar. Now, I actually now have finished burning through this first one. Now you can see that it got a little bit sooty around the rim there, but you can also see how long these wicks are. These 2025 pours for HOMEWORX are burning hot and fast. And while I'm finding that these wicks, they're not necessarily falling over, they do get a little bit long, and you do want to trim the wicks on these candles because otherwise they're going to get pretty lengthy, particularly if you burn them longer than like a 3 to 4 hour stretch. This last final burn, I did burn it longer than that, which would be to blame for the soot accrual around there. But strength and throw on this candle was pretty good for me, you guys. I think that I gave it anywhere between a 7 and an 8. You guys, there's so many candles that I burn that oftentimes when I do my dedicated post burns, that is actually probably going to be your most accurate assessment, I would say, in terms of a strength and throw on a candle, because by that point I'm usually at the halfway point. And then like by the time I get to my empties, sometimes I'm like, I don't know, I don't remember how well that did it. Paying attention to so many candles, how they're burning all the time. But this one was really nice. I am actually burning the second one that I got in the duo with the pumpkin cold brew. That's a great combination. The other morning we actually had a lot of rain. I think that was yesterday morning. Yesterday morning it was a nice rainy morning, and oh, it was just so cozy burning. I had this one going in my bedroom, and then I had the pumpkin cold brew out here in the living room. Great combination. But anyways, this chai pumpkin latte, I do enjoy it. There's some aspects about this that reminds me slightly, just slightly, of pumpkin carving from Bath and Body Works. Not a spot on dupe, but there's something about it that kind of reminds me about that. Did I give the fragrance notes? I did. Chai tea. Yeah, I don't get a ton of chai tea in here. Maybe a little bit, but good fragrance. I don't see myself needing to purchase backups, but I will burn the other one that I currently have in my collection. And then let's see, we've got 2 more here, you guys. Okay, here's a candle that was sent to me in PR by the brand. This is Spooky Vanilla. This is in one of their faceted 3-wick vessels, which you guys, these vessels are stunning. I think that this is beautiful. I would plan to repurpose this to just maybe, who did I see in the Facebook group? Somebody repurposes these as like soap holders at their sink, and I thought that is beautiful. You know, that's a great way to catch like the extra soap drippings and stuff off of your sink. So kudos if you're watching this video. Please take credit in the comments. But I think I might do that because this is beautiful. Okay, so Spooky Vanilla had fragrance notes of vanilla, caramel, dark woods, and musk. We know that Harry loves to mix caramel in with a lot of his vanilla notes. And here's what I'm going to tell you. This to me, I said, smelled like kind of like a body care type of vanilla. This doesn't lean very much gourmand vanilla. This is more body care vanilla. There's a little bit of perfuminess, whatever accords they're using as like dark woods. I did do a dedicated post burn on this, and I believe if I'm correct, I went on and I actually looked at the more in-depth like the in-depth fragrance notes, which if you're ever curious about that, on the Slatkin & Co website, if you click on a product, they'll give you like the 4 like fragrance notes that they're going to list on the bottom of the candle, but they'll also give you top, middle, and bottom notes. Sometimes that can be helpful. Other times it can create more confusion. But I remembered on the review for this, I remembered looking at the more detailed, what would I say, like elements, and I was like, oh yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Like I think like there was a peach note or something like that mixed in there, and I was like, yeah, I am smelling a little bit of fruitiness. So anyways, I don't remember, strength and throw on this one was not like an absolute powerhouse, but it did perform better than I thought it would. And that I think is because this has a June 2024 pour date. So it's been sitting for more than a year. We know that HOMEWORX candles, the longer that they sit, the longer that they are, I would say that they strengthen in terms of their performance. So that one was actually a relatively decent performer for me. Okay, and the final HOMEWORX candle that I want to talk about is Toasted Vanilla Cupcake. This was sent to me in PR. I've never had this candle from the brand before, even though I know that it's been around for quite some time. This has fragrance notes of vanilla, caramel, sugar, cream, and vanilla bean. And I'm going to tell you guys, This is another one. It burned kind of dirty for me. You can see that kind of like some spots in the wax there. I don't know what that was all about. Now, what is the pour date on this one? This one also has a 2024 pour date. So the wicks were different than the wicks that I've been having with the 2025 pours. Here's what I'm going to say. This would not be a repurchase for me. This was very caramel heavy to my nose, almost cloying caramel. I did not love this one very much. Yeah, not really up my alley, but I do know that a lot of people like it. But this to me, I mean, there was vanilla, but this was a very, very caramel heavy candle. And it wasn't even like caramel apple or something like that. I think it's the mix of the vanilla with the caramel that, I don't even want to like keep smelling that. Kind of came across a little bit cloying to me. It was decently strong. Of course, it would be a fragrance that I found cloying. But yeah, that not going to be a repurchase for me. So I shall total up how many candles this is that I finished burning. I believe it's maybe, I don't know. I'll put it on the screen right here for you guys. So those are all of the candles that I have finished burning at this point. Hopefully I will get back on track and have more empties to share with you guys. You guys know if you've been here any length of time, typically I like to do my empties video twice a month. So that way I can, you know, kind of get them out of the garage. I do usually, if you've ever asked what I do with a lot of these vessels, I have a local florist who really appreciates getting the vessels. So that way it cuts down on some of her costs. So I end up, you know, kind of cleaning out the vessels and sending them over to her. And she's really appreciative of that. Although I might keep that faceted one just for me. So that way I can use it as a soap holder. But anyways, I do try to do the empties video twice a month, as well as trying to get back to doing my candle chat twice a month. I feel like maybe now that I don't feel as inundated with having to get all the new launches, like new launch reviews out for you guys in a like much smaller time frame, hopefully I'll be able to get back to some of like my more like what I feel like is laid back content. I feel like this video is always fun. Empties are great. So yeah, let me know in the comment section down below if you finished burning any of these. Are any of these candles that are like holy grails to you, or did you try some of these and you're like, yeah, they are not for me? Always curious to hear what you guys have to say. I always say this, but I am just one reviewer here on YouTube. There's quite a few other people who have different fragrance preferences, who do some great reviews. And I think it's great that we have a community of people who like get in front of the screen or behind the screen to share those thoughts. But also just keep in mind that your guys' feedback on a lot of these comments in the comments section is also just as helpful for the community, because, you know, the more opinions that we can get, hopefully we are not wasting our money on fragrances that are not for us. So if you like this video, please make sure you hit the thumbs up button. I also have seen this new thing called like the hype button. Honestly, I'm a bad YouTuber. I haven't even looked into like what this all means, but I have heard some other reviewers say, or just other creators say, that if you hit that hype button, I think you're limited to like each individual can hype 3 videos a week. You can use that hype button on smaller channels. And then they have it, I think, up to available people who have channels of up to 500,000. I'm like, that's not really a small channel to me, but okay. But if you hit that hype button on a video, then I guess it counts as like, it's like adding likes or something to it. I have no idea. It does something to the YouTube algorithm where then they push that video out a little bit more. And it's particularly beneficial for small creators. So if you feel like you want to use one of your hypes this week on that, go ahead. I also believe that it's only available on videos that have been uploaded within the last 7 days. So that's what I've heard. I don't know all the details about it. But if you'd like to help your girl out every once in a while with one of my videos, if you particularly found a video helpful, consider hitting the hype button in addition to the like button. So anyways, you guys, I am starting to ramble. You guys know that means it is my time. Curtains, it's time to go. So I do want to say thank you so very, very much for spending your time here with me today. Until my next one, I hope you all go out and have a very blessed day. Bye.